got off the phone with a law enforcement source who told me a little bit more about how this transfer will work, again, assuming Luigi Mangione waives extradition, which we expect him to do. So what this source says will likely happen, again, I caution all this can change, but what appears to be the plan right now is that he will be driven to the airport, the Altoona airport, which is around half an hour or so away, and at that point the NYPD will put him on a plane to go back to New York. This source said to me that they want to avoid the kind of the spectacle of a 5-hour drive. Think about, for lack of a better comparison, think about sort of the Bronco chase from the O.J. Simpson trial back in 1994, everyone lining the highway and, signs and all that kind of thing. So this is sort of the most efficient, safest, quickest way to get him back to New York City without generating a huge spectacle and all of this attention. Already his appearance here has generated attention. There are people outside the courthouse who are praising him for his actions.
Hey, Bri, how are you? Nice to see you, brother. Pardon me?
Is it alright if I say that?
called? What the heck was it called? Oh, I gotta go. Sorry. I'm coming. No, the. Yeah, Kurt and Rosanna. So Luigi Mangione also is inside. He arrived fairly early, earlier than we anticipated he would get here. He walked in without any kind of incident. They backed the SUV right up to the door in the back alley here at the Blair County Courthouse, and he walked maybe 6 or 7 feet, of course, escorted by plenty of police officers inside. No outbursts, no kind of resisting, nothing like we saw just a few days ago here, that famous, now infamous outburst and his yelling. So he got inside, no issue there. 2 hearings here today. The first at 8:30 on the local charges that he's facing here in Pennsylvania, which include carrying a gun without a license as well as forgery. Remember, he had that fake New Jersey license that he used to check into the hostel on the Upper West Side. He had that on his person when he was arrested at the McDonald's in Altoona on December 9th, 5 days after he's accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. So if what happens, what we anticipate will happen, does in fact happen, and he waives extradition, then the NYPD will take custody of him. Plenty of NYPD officers are here already, to be sure. And according to one law enforcement source who called me just a short time ago, the plan right now is to drive Luigi Mangione from the courthouse to the nearby airport in Altoona. It's about a 25 or so minute drive away from here, and then fly him by plane, weather permitting, to New York, where he could face a judge perhaps as early as later on today for his arraignment, and then the whole legal process starts in New York. There's also the issue of federal charges, because we're expecting Luigi Mangione to also be slapped with those, in addition to the state charges that he is facing, both the first-degree murder charges and also the 2 second-degree murder charges, in addition to a slew of other counts he's facing. And the significance of the federal charges, of course, is that they would make him eligible for the death penalty if he's convicted of said charges. So we're watching a lot. My colleague Michelle Ross is inside the courtroom. As soon as she gets any information, as soon as the hearings wrap up, the plan is for her to come out. She'll join me. We'll chat about what happened today and next steps here as the wheels of justice continue turning and they shift from here in Pennsylvania to back in New York. Kurt and Rosanna.
could have been. Oh, the hell, this is.
Hey, Michael?
Yeah.
They might be journalists.
No, just take a picture and put it on the green screen. Gotta go. Like, I'm gonna be at tonight. I have BG.
Provide multi-dimensional coverage. Yeah, yeah. It's all just straight. You know, it's like local lines.
Yeah.
The side entrance.
Provide authentication.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's
If you're facing the courthouse,
Yeah, I work with it.
it's at this one on the left.
Yeah, but he was talking out with New York, so different. Yeah.
and I would be able
I got it.
to all my 3 O's. So I know I can't sit down. My wife works. Vice versa. It's like, you know, it's just
Yeah, you just get used to it.
when I pop myself in melatonin, it's like
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
George was volunteering in that county. He's on his way to South Bend to cover Notre Dame and Ann. So it's on the east
okay, that is crazy.
The health insurance. I was paying that COBRA. I was paying it was Care First Blue Cross. Care First Blue Cross. Yeah, it was more than my house payment. It was more than my house payment. For my family. We had 9 children. We did. But yeah, but I always had like at least 4 kids in the house. No, I don't. Right. Enjoy the now more.
I let them know that she's still in the.
Yeah, instead of I always felt yeah, working to catch up to the future, get to yeah, I mean yeah, just enjoy the present. That's what I would say.
Whitewood?
They're crazy. If I tell you exactly, I'll tell you how old I am. But the range is 25 years. We have 26 going on 27. And I have, like that guy, I have a few great grandchildren. It's like managed chaos. Oh yeah. I'm not quite ready to retire.
It's all the prep too. When we were all here in the angle.
Really?
Yeah. That's most of
Yeah, I was
that. Good.
Yeah. Now for years.
You had a.
I'm in and out. I mean, even when I went staff. When I went staff, it was good. I worked for the O&O for 13 years. Not the edge, when they're not trying to cruise. No, this is when they first hired me.
I told you.
Yeah, that's when I first started in staff. And then they opened up FNC. I came all my freelancing was with Fox. Oh, you were?
Good, yeah.
Well, like, yeah,
Nothing back here.
No, that's just for Luigi.
Yeah.
Look at this guy. Yeah. I think it took me like 9 to 5. Well, I came straight here. Yeah, but I stopped at the post office, and that took an hour. And I stopped for lunch. At Chick-fil-A. So. Not counting stops, it's probably a minute. The traffic is bad enough. Well, they do. I went to the school there. Yeah, I fell into speech broadcast too. Yeah, because I changed my major. Oh, you did? No. Well, they did in College of Liberal Arts. They did not have the school affiliation. No, but I spent all my on rhetoric. So I was. I wanted to get a picture. Oh, yeah, man.
You know, I also realized, what was your name again? Alan. Alan. When we left, I forgot. Memories like that. Ready? Pleasure to meet you again, Alan.
Yeah, thank you. God bless you. Have a safe trip back to New York.
Thank you, thank you. Have a good holiday with all those kids.
I will. No, I do every year. It's a blast.
I got out of stand and an umbrella and having that stuff out. I do this next. different situations like speaking.
Tell Robert.
I'm coming your way. Extradition waive.
Extradition is just here.
Okay. Hey, Alyssa? Hey guys, extradition waived. Can you talk to me? Someone talk to me? Yes. Just waived extradition, so I would imagine things would start. Okay. Is this just a minute? It has. Certain, Rosanna, just in the last couple minutes, Luigi Mangione waived his extradition as expected. His extradition hearing got underway late. It was supposed to start about 9 o'clock. It started closer to 9:45. I'm told it was a packed courtroom, about 100 people inside. NYPD officers took up the entire front row of that courtroom, which gives you an indication they were ready to go. They knew what was going to happen here, and they were ready to take him into custody and bring him back to the city. So yes, Luigi Mangione has waived his extradition. So now what we expect to happen is for him to be driven to an airport around 25 minutes or so away, and then brought by air to New York City, where he could face a judge at some point later on today. So again, just to repeat the big update, not surprising, but it's still significant nonetheless. Luigi Mangione has waived his extradition, so the wheels of justice will turn and shift.
courtroom with Luigi Mangione.
Because as you said, Robert, all this happened just moments ago. Michelle was inside the courthouse, able to relay it to you, and you've been able to speak to your NYPD sources. In the meantime, we're going to take a quick break. We'll get back to you in just a second. That'll give him time to gather a little bit more information. Thank you, Robert. It'll also give Michelle a little bit to get outside.
Out, of course.
And we, as you said, can hear from her firsthand as to exactly what went on inside that courtroom.
All right, so we know Sherry Shepard's next for sure, but we'll break in with pertinent information that you need to know. Today, New York is your source for all information.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Here's the white balance.
You good?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Listen.
Hey, what's up?
Think about as you're doing
Okay.
your work.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.
The DA is on his way down here. You're right behind me. Thank you. Thanks, sir.
Is there a pool feed of this, or are these all
Negative,
unilateral?
it's all unilateral. Huh? The DA, yes. Mike? Yeah, the DA is about to talk. So, next to last street.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Yes,
that
and
point.
what happens on February 24th? Is that officially off the
That's
books here?
it's on as we speak right now. It's still on as a court date, and that's where we are.
What's next? What's next? What's
There are
next?
several people who visited him in. I don't know if it's worth it anymore to go over there. He's not really saying that.
As a lawyer, I obviously have contact with my client.
You and Luigi had a long conversation today. What was that like when you had sort of discussed the extradition and what he was thinking of as he went to New York today?
Just what attorneys and clients talk about, legal issues. I can't even remember where I'm parked now. You guys are pushing me. I don't even know where I'm at.
Was he calm today? Was he feeling all right?
You guys observed him. You guys observed him, and sorry.
You said you were satisfied with how things went today. Could you reiterate that? Sorry.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I arranged this proceeding today, and we accomplished what I felt we needed to do.
Will he appear in person in February? Back here?
It's too early to tell. Okay.
How are you feeling, knowing the charges he's facing in New York?
Well, I mean, we don't feel about things. We defend, and we react and do our jobs. So.
Are you still confident in his defense for
yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I'm not going to comment too much on what's happening with the attorney-client process and the legal process.
Lastly, just for clarification, for the extradition today, was there any agreement on dropping some of those Pennsylvania charges to get that to go forward?
Yeah, I won't comment on any stipulations or agreements that were made.
Even though.
What's next for you?
He's good at that. Press conference in the basement. You saw that?
What?
Press conference in the basement.
Oh,
Any
okay.
minute now.
Okay. Are they? But is that pool? Or is it...
Good morning. Just because the gentleman asked me to, my name is Pete Weeks from the Blair County District Attorney's Office. We had said we would be available to answer any questions relative to the preliminary hearing and extradition of Mr. Mangione. Yes, sir. Anytime a defendant waives a preliminary hearing in Blair County or has a preliminary hearing and the charges are bound to court, a preliminary conference date will be scheduled. I don't expect that date necessarily. I don't expect us to be transporting the defendant until his charges are concluded in New York.
When does he enter a plea in this case?
A defendant doesn't have to enter a plea, and I would have absolutely no idea what his intentions are for his Blair County case. Other than it taking extra time, not really. He wanted some of the language changed and didn't agree to say that he was treated nicely by the police officers at all times. But, we had sent that paperwork out, I think, Tuesday, so everyone could review it. And it was, as you saw today, at 9:15 where the questions were raised. Sir?
Yeah, I was going to ask more about the customizations that were made to the forms. Was that the extent of them? Or what were the customizations made to the waiver form?
There was an acknowledgement that a writ of habeas corpus had been filed and was being withdrawn. There was an acknowledgement that he had an attorney, and I think there were redactions about some of our normal language about the treatment of police.
So really be tolling the charges?
Excuse me?
You would be tolling the charges here locally in Pennsylvania and then New York?
Yeah, as I stated earlier, our intention is to keep our case active, and at the conclusion of the New York case, which obviously is the primary case against the defendant, and we intend to assist them in any manner that they might need, we'll evaluate our case and determine how to proceed.
Why has Mangione been held at a
Or the death of United Healthcare CEO. We have some reporters there on scene just to explain a little bit more about what is happening. Michelle Ross and Robert Moses have been following this all morning long. Robert, let's start with you real fast. As we talk about what happened this morning, he was in a Pennsylvania courtroom listening especially to two hearings. One was that gun charge. The other one was the extradition to New York, which his lawyers did expect him to do. So was this a surprise or no?
Yeah, Bianca, this was not a surprise. The first hearing at 8:30, the second one started late. It was supposed to start about 9 o'clock. Started more like 9:45, and my colleague Michelle Ross was in the courtroom for both of those hearings, the one at 8:30 and the one at 9:45. Kind of take us through how Luigi Mangione behaved. I saw him walk in this morning. He was remarkably calm. How was he in the courtroom?
Right, so that remarkably calm attitude continued into the courtroom. We were talking about it earlier, how he had an outburst the first time that he came in, but this was a completely different mindset. He came in, he looked well put together, despite being in an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. He was clean shaven. His hair has grown out a little bit, his curly hair, but once he sat down, he wasn't as fidgety as he was the first time around, but he was sitting in his seat. He was alert. The first time he was counting the number of people in the courtroom, but this time he did do a scan, but he was alert. He wasn't, interrupting anyone. Last time he interrupted his defense attorney, but this time he was listening and he was going with everything that was happening in the courtroom.
And we were also talking about the fact that whole front row in the courtroom of about 100 or so seats was occupied by NYPD officers. Right. So clearly the NYPD was ready to go for this eventuality today of him waiving extradition.
Exactly. Considering that the crime happened in New York City, the NYPD was ready to extradite him. They've been in contact with such a big case like this. So many different agencies are in touch with each other. They're talking to the DA's office, even with the defense attorneys, with the attorneys back in New York City, with the DA back in New York City. So about 12 to 13 NYPD personnel in the front row ready to take him back to New York.
And let's talk about that process, because I know you and I have been talking to sources about how that's going to work.
Right.
You spoke to someone yesterday, I spoke to someone this morning, and kind of the general tenor is the same, and that is that Luigi Mangione will be driven to the airport, which is about 25 minutes or so from here, the Altoona Blair County Airport. It's a small airport, of course, and he will then be flown back to New York City, where conceivably he could appear before a judge, early this afternoon. I think we're just hearing.
Yeah, we just heard some police sirens, so this could be.
So he might be actually
from this area and then heading to the airport, like you mentioned. But an NYPD source did tell me last night that flying is the preferred way of transport. It's less risky, it takes less time, and he'll get there quicker. So it's definitely a preferred way to go there.
And also there's the whole spectacle aspect of it. My source said this morning, we don't want him driving for 5 hours and potentially people lining the route with signs, and we've already seen supporters out here
with
this
signs
morning.
Here saying that he's been charged with terrorism. We see some police lights here, with some emergency lights taking place. But they're now going around the other way. But yes, we've seen signs, with the terrorism charges now included in his first-degree murder charges, some of the signs here saying that, killing people under health care is terrorism. So we've seen so many supporters here. It makes sense why, the risk would be taking him on the road by car.
And in fact, we're just looking at some video of Mangione leaving the courthouse as we speak. So again, the plan, according to our sources, is to take him to the airport, which is about a 25-minute or so drive. And forgive me, we're just kind of looking off camera to see the activity, but it looks like they're going the other way.
We saw a few cars just zoomed away, so they could be on their way now.
So the plan is to go to the airport, fly him back to New York City, where he will presumably appear before a judge today. Let's talk about the fact that now he's facing not only the state charges, but now potentially federal charges as well.
Right, so that's something that could happen later on. And so with these serious charges in New York, Alvin Bragg wants him processed as soon as possible. So we'll see how that plays out as early as, it could even happen before noon, depending on how quick they get to the airport and then fly over.
And the significance with the federal charges, of course, is that he becomes eligible for the death penalty.
Right.
The maximum sentence under the state charges would be life in prison without parole, but if he's charged federally, he could be
he could be looking at the death penalty, which just ratchets this case up even more.
Right, and then with his Pennsylvania charges, I mean, they're also very serious charges, but they would be minor compared to what he's facing federally and at the state level back in New York State.
And the Pennsylvania charges, I think we should hit on that. I mean, there's sort of a subtext in this whole thing, but they were the subject of that first hearing that started at 8:30, and now it's kind of an afterthought because everyone is understandably focused on the murder charges in New York. But he has a next court appearance here, conceivably on those Pennsylvania charges.
Right, and they pushed that to February 24th. They said that he's not waiving his right to that hearing. He's just reserving that right for a later date. And Thomas Dickey, his defense attorney, said that he wanted some evidence in exchange to push that hearing. So the DA gave him, they wanted to expedite the delivery process. So the DA gave him essentially a 20-page police report that they said had information as recent as this morning. So we'll see how that plays out over the next couple of months as the court case in New York plays out.
And the charges here in Pennsylvania, of course, the carrying a gun without a license. So he had the purported murder weapon on him in McDonald's, and also that fake New Jersey driver's license also on him that he used to check into the hostel. So now this story sort of shifts away from here and back to New York with the potential of an arraignment. Our understanding is it could happen this afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. So it could be, and that's exactly what Alvin Bragg said a couple of days ago, that their hope is to get him processed and arraigned and then start preparing for a trial if there will be one.
The scene here was pretty remarkable this morning. I know you got to witness it inside. Outside, we happened to be one of the police officers let us. He clearly should not have, but he led us into that back alley right as Luigi Mangione was pulling in. Several squad cars, the SUV backed up to that rear entrance. You know, it was very buttoned up. He maybe had 6 or 7 feet to go from the car into the courthouse. It was they wanted to make sure this happened just so.
Right, and it's funny to hear that color from outside, how seriously they were taking it outside, and they were taking it very seriously inside. But I would say that the court officers that were surrounding him were a little more casual. I was telling you earlier how during that break, as we were waiting for the extradition hearing, Luigi Mangione was reading papers on his desk. It could have been the police report, but he was skimming through papers, and he turned around and he asked the court officer a question, and the court officer was very casual with him, smiling at him as he was answering those questions. So there's that aspect of, you have to be a bit charming in a way if you are a defendant accused of murder to get a court officer to smile at you and to laugh at you. And we have seen the response on social media. I know it's not what prosecutors want to hear, that the person that they're prosecuting is charming, but we have seen this response on social media erupting in support of him.
Well, it's an unmistakable part of this story. I mean, there's a magnetism to Luigi Mangione that you just can't deny, and I think a lot of people have kind of seized on that. It's also remarkable to me I mean, there have been a lot of supporters out here, people wearing the green Luigi hats and praising him for this alleged heinous act, premeditated heinous act. I can't remember a story where, at least in recent memory, where the alleged killer is lionized like this one.
Right, and Jessica Tisha said that the response has been appalling. The NYP commissioner has said that they've seen posters that have been posted, plastered all over the areas with other CEOs threatening them. But it's not only his brazen, alleged message that he sent in this alleged killing that people are praising, but it's also his looks that they're also praising as well. So there are two aspects to this story. It's people angry with the American healthcare system, and then people also romanticizing his looks.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the story from here. Bianca will send it back to you if you have anything else you want to chat about. But quite a day out here.
Absolutely, Robert. I would really hope that maybe you could expand a bit more on this, because I feel like a lot of people had questions as to why the New York prosecutors used a terrorism law in the charges against Luigi Mangione. I feel like a lot of people were surprised by that, and maybe you could figure out how they came to that tactic.
Well, Bianca was asking about the terrorism charges and why why terrorism? And I think that there are a couple answers to that. First of all, statutorily, it's laid out if you do something to sort of further a political end, that can qualify as terrorism. But also, and this is such a basic answer, but I think we forget the root word of terrorism is terror.
Right.
And this killing was meant to inflict terror. It happened on the morning of the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree lighting, as as Alvin Bragg pointed out, people were going to work and going about their day, and tourists were getting ready to go out and shop and the whole thing. And this really was terrifying as well.
Right. And it's something that I have a lot of conversations with, that people of my background, being of Middle Eastern background, because a lot of people mistakenly think that terrorism is only overseas.
Yes.
But it's not. We have domestic terrorism, and we can see that in this particular case that it's being pursued with Luigi Mangione. So exactly the point that you made, invoking terror, sowing terror in the middle of Midtown, before commuters, before it becomes a busy area that it is known for.
Yeah, exactly. We're looking at video. We may still be looking at video of Luigi Mangione leaving. But yeah, I think when I'll speak for myself, when I think of terrorism, the first thing that jumps to mind is 9/11 or the 93 bombing or whatever. But this is just as much terrorism as that is.
Exactly. It doesn't depend on the number of people killed or targeted. It's really dependent on the intent behind it. And we during the press conference that the DA had held, he said that this was also meant to kind of intimidate a population as well, and this is also in a way kind of galvanized a population.
I think the unfortunate thing is we've sort of obsessed about Luigi Mangione, and how many times have we uttered the name of Brian Thompson?
Right.
It's just, it gets, somehow the victim really gets lost in this story. The prosecutors made a point of that the other day. Bragg said, look, we have a very robust sort of victim support system, and that's another side of this story, but we can't forget Brian Thompson's loved ones who are left behind to just watch this spectacle.
Right, and that's something they stressed during that press conference. They said that we shouldn't forget who was the victim in this case, and that was Brian Thompson, and they continuously sent their condolences to his family.
And we can talk about the practices of the health insurance industry and all that, but certainly this is not the way to address any sort of concern.
Right, and they have said, authorities have said that anyone who targets someone, who goes out to kill someone, is a danger to society, which is why they're moving through with this case and taking it seriously, and why he's on his way to New York City right now.
Michelle, great work inside. Great being with you, and we appreciate all the work out here. Bianca, if you have anything else for us, we'll send it back to you.
We'll have more coming up on the new, but I really do appreciate the work that you guys are doing out there in the field. Again, as we're wrapping this up, we're here learning that Luigi Mangione waived extradition. He will be heading back to New York to face a judge in the death of United Healthcare CEO. We're going to get off the air in just a second, tossing to Sherry Shepard, but we'll have more again coming up, and some live reports coming up on this on the new.
Well, we are lucky in Blair County all the time. We have police officers who, they don't complain, they work extra, they show up when they're asked, and that's what's happened over the past 2 weeks. Police officers have worked extra shifts, police departments have volunteered help, everyone's worked together. There hasn't been any, pushing or shoving, so to speak, as to who gets to do what. It's been a cooperative effort. I've always been grateful for that. And because of that, I would say it's been more work, but it certainly has taken resources, but it's been accomplished because of the cooperation of everybody. Very smoothly because of the cooperation of everybody. I have absolutely no idea what Attorney Dickey or Mr. Mangione will elect to do. Those are decisions for them that I have, no say in, and I'm not going to speculate on that.
Do you believe Mr. Mangione can receive a fair trial here, given sort of the public interest in the case?
In America, a fair trial everywhere when the rules are followed. And I certainly would have no doubt that the rules would be followed in New York as they would be followed here. You'd be surprised how many people don't read the papers, and even when they do, when you've done the number of trials that First Assistant Smith and I have done throughout our careers, the questions juries ask in trials, even high-profile trials, show me that they're paying attention, they're conscientious, and they really want to evaluate the evidence. Excuse me. So I have no doubt that he can receive a fair trial.
What's been the most challenging aspect of this case for you, for your office, and for the wider community?
The challenges for our office is just that we're short-staffed and we have a pretty high caseload per capita in Blair County, so it's just been, the resource issue. But other than that, these things are something we do all the time in our office. They just don't normally get attention, and certainly not this level of attention. But there are things we do in the normal course of business.
Just to wrap up, could you give us like a 20-second summary of what comes next in the Blair County trial?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part of your sentence, sir.
Would you mind giving us like a 20-second summary of what comes next in the Blair County trial?
Well, because of the defendant's reversal today and decision to waive his preliminary hearing, as well as his extradition, certainly we believe it's in the interest of justice to turn him over to the New York City Police Department and Manhattan District Attorney's Office, which we did. He is now in their custody. He will go forthwith to New York to await trial or prosecution for his homicide and related charges in New York. We intend to keep our case active, and we intend to essentially revisit the case when the defendant is available for prosecution in Blair County, and we'll assess that at the appropriate time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
New York's East Village. It's been 40 years since living